So as you come into constructive rest pose with your feet as wide as the mat, your knees tented together, you can just allow yourself to settle in, allow your spine to feel fully supported by the earth, and just notice the impression that your body is making, an impression that is unlike any other, completely unique to you. This year, I've been theming my yoga classes all around the idea of the yamas and the niyamas, which are yoga's ethical practices. And this month for August, the theme is called tapas, which is the third niyama, and it stands for self discipline. So I just have a quote from the book by Deborah Adele. Tapas literally means heat and can be translated to self discipline, spiritual efforts, change, and transformation. Tapas has the sense of cooking ourselves in the fire of discipline to transform ourselves into something else. It is our determined effort to become someone of character and strength. Tapas eventually changes our nature, turning us into a cauldron that can withstand any of life's challenges. Tapas is our day-to-day choices to burn non-supportive habits of the body and mind, choosing to forsake momentary pleasures for future rewards. So if this idea of tapas, self-discipline, speaks to you, you might allow yourself to use that as an intention for your practice today. If there's another intention that brought you to class, something you'd like to cultivate, or something you'd like to release, you're welcome to set any intention that makes sense for you in your practice. And while we're on that topic, this is your very own practice. So you can feel free to modify things, do what works best for you. If you find that today your best medicine is to rest in Shavasana, you're welcome to do that as well. So now you can begin to invite a little bit of movement into the body. Allow the knees to gently fall over to the left and allow the gaze to maybe turn over to the right. On your next inhale, you can bring the knees back up to center, and exhale, allow them to float over to the opposite side, turning your gaze over to the opposite shoulder. And just go ahead and take this movement at your own pace, following the pace of your own breath. You could always find that it might feel good to pause on one side for a moment, maybe even a few rounds of breath. And then whenever you're ready, you can roll onto one side, coming into a fetal position, and then use the strength of your arms to press yourself up into a seat. And we'll come to meet at a cross-legged position. You might close down the eyes, lengthening through the spine, just allowing yourself to arrive in your seat. On your next exhale, allow your head to gently bow towards your heart, finding a stretch through the back of your neck. And then on your next exhale, you can allow the right ear to fall towards the right shoulder. Finding a stretch through the left side of the neck, lengthening through the spine, allow the shoulders to melt away from the ears. And then you might find a little movement here, gently nodding your head yes, inviting in new opportunities and practicing saying yes. And then gently begin to shake your head no, releasing that which does not serve you. And then you can come back to stillness, And allow the chin to gently trace the front of the chest, bowing your head towards your heart. And then you can allow the left ear to float over towards the left shoulder, allowing the right shoulder to melt away from the ear. Take a nice deep breath, allowing the breath to cascade down the side of the neck. And then you might gently shake your head, yes. And then shake your head, no. And then we'll come back to center, allowing the chin to trace the front of the chest, bowing your head towards your heart, and then lifting your gaze up, and you can blink your eyes open. Let's invite our hands to meet at our heart center, and you can interlace your fingers and start to draw a few figure eights with the wrists. You might gaze down at your wrists and start to marvel at their design, sending gratitude for all the things that your wrists can do for you. And then go ahead and reverse the direction of your figure eights. And then we'll come back to center, and you can flip the palms so they're facing forward around the spine back to come into a cat back. And then we'll inhale to reach the arms up overhead, lifting the heart, lifting the gaze. And with your next exhale, you can rotate to the left. Bring your right hand onto your left knee. Place your left hand behind you and find a twist, lengthening through the spine, sending the gaze over the left shoulder. With your next exhale, allow the chin to trace the front of the chest, and you can turn just the gaze past your right shoulder. On your next exhale, go ahead and release, coming back to center. We'll interlace the fingers, this time the opposite way, so the awkward way. And let's start to do a few more figure eights. You might find this time there's less snap, crackle, pops. And then go ahead and reverse the direction. And then when you're ready, you can press the palms forward, round the spine back, find that cat back. And then we'll inhale to reach it up towards the sky. Exhale to rotate over to the right. And you can release the hands, bringing your left hand onto your right knee. Place your right hand behind you, and you can send the gaze past your right shoulder. With each inhale, lengthening the spine, and each exhale, allowing you to twist a little more deeply. With your next exhale, allow the chin to trace the front of the chest, and you can turn just the gaze behind your left shoulder. On your next exhale, go ahead and release that. And we'll come into hands and knees. So you can bring your palms underneath your shoulders, your knees underneath your hips. And then whenever you're ready, you can inhale to drop the belly, lifting the heart towards the biceps for cow pose. Exhale to round the spine, coming into cat. Inhale for cow. And exhale for cat. And take a few rounds of cat and cow, following the pace of your own breath. After a few rounds, you might try to explore any additional movements that might feel good here. Maybe beginning to draw a big circle with the belly button, imagining you are tracing the inside of a hula hoop. Whenever you're ready, you can reverse the direction of your circle if you're taking that circle in one direction. And then whenever you're ready, we'll come back to a neutral spine. And you can draw the belly button towards the spine. And then when you're ready, you can reach your gaze over your right shoulder. Allow your right hip to bend towards your right shoulder. Inhale to come back to center and exhale, twisting over to the left. You can take one more round on each side and just allow yourself a chance to marvel at the design of your perfect body and this amazing spine that can move in all different directions. And then when you're ready, we'll come back to center and you can bring the big toes to touch, open the knees up wide, sink the hips back, and walk the hands out in front for child's pose, allowing your forehead to rest on the mat. Allow your heart to soften towards the ground. And just imagine that any tension in the body can bead up like water dripping off of a duck's back. Just allow it to melt off of you onto the ground. From here, we'll take a little side bend so you can press yourself up to your hands and then walk your hands over to the right, reaching the left hand away from the left hip. You might turn the gaze underneath the right shoulder. Allow the breath to cascade down the left side. And then when you're ready, we'll press ourselves up and walk yourself over to the left this time, reaching the right arm away from the right hip. And you might turn the gaze underneath your left shoulder. Take one more nice deep breath here. And then when you're ready, we'll come back to center. You can come back up into hands and knees. And then we're going to take a fire hydrant pose. So go ahead and lift your right knee up towards the sky. So you're coming out at perpendicular to the body. And then we'll go ahead and bring the knee back down, allow it to hover. And then inhale, lift the leg up to the side. Exhale, allow the knee to come back to hover. And go ahead and take 2 more rounds on this side, just lifting and lowering the right knee. And then we'll go ahead and bring that knee back to meet the left. And we're going to take 4 more rounds on the left side. So lifting the left knee up into fire hydrant. Exhale to release. Inhale to lift. And exhale to release. I lost count, so maybe take 1 more round. And whenever you feel complete from left to right, we'll come back to center. And then let's come onto the forearms. You can extend your right leg back behind you. So you're tucking the toes under, finding length through the back of your calf. You can either do this on forearms or on your palms. I thought I'd offer you a chance to give your wrists a little break. And then when you're ready, you can cross the right foot over towards the left. And you might walk your hands a little bit over to the left. So you're going to find a nice stretch on your side body here. And then we'll come back to center and return the right knee down to the mat. You can extend the left foot now behind you, tucking the toes under, pressing the heel towards the mat, finding length through the back of your calf. You can either do this on your palms or on your forearms. Take a nice deep breath here, and on your next exhale, let's step the foot over to the right, the left foot over to the right, and then you might walk your hands over to the right, finding that side bend on the opposite side. And then we'll come back to center. And you can come down onto your forearms and slide your right foot back and then your left foot back to come into a forearm plank. You're welcome to lower down onto your knees for a little more support. And you can hold your plank as long as you'd like. And then whenever you're ready, you can lower down onto your belly and we'll find ourselves in Sphinx pose. So here your forearms are resting on the mat. You can begin to traction your hands back as you reach your heart forward, finding a nice back bend here. And then whenever you're ready, you can stack your palms and lower your forehead to the back of your hands for crocodile pose. Allowing your breath to fill the back of your body. You can take a moment to delight in this time of rest, relaxing your shoulders, softening all effort. One of my favorite teachers, Emily Light, talks about how this pose is really great for anxiety, which I often hear people talking about. So maybe next time you're feeling anxious, you might notice, could you take a little time and place for yourself to come into crocodile pose, allowing the breath to fill the back of the body. Now we'll swing the hands down so that the palms are face up. You can turn the gaze over to the right and just allow yourself to rest for a moment here, feeling a gentle stretch on the side of the neck. Allowing your temple to rest on the mat. And then with your next inhale, we'll float the gaze forward, lift the heart and the chest, lift the arms and lift the legs to come into a flying superhero position, locust pose. Take a nice deep breath here, growing a little taller, floating above the ground, balancing on the belly. With your next inhale, you can float the arms forward and then exhale to swim them back. Inhale to float them forward and exhale to fly them back. And one more time, just like this. And then with your next exhale, you can turn your gaze to the left, soften all of your effort, allow your temple to rest. And you can take a moment to delight in this time of rest, allowing a balance of your effort and your ease. And then when you're ready, we'll bring the palms underneath the shoulders. You can tuck the toes under and press up to table or plank. And we'll find our first downward facing dog. Now you're always welcome to obviously skip any poses that don't feel great to you. So if you want to skip downward dog, you can always take child's pose instead, but we'll tuck the toes under, lift the hips up and back, and you can start to pedal your heels towards the mat, sashaying the hips a little side to side. From here, we're going to come into a forward fold. So you can start to walk either your feet towards your hands or your hands towards your feet. We'll interlace the hands around the opposite elbows and just allow yourself to gently ragdoll here, swaying side to side. You might shake your head no, and then nod your head yes. And then we'll come back to stillness. You can release the hands down towards your mat and then slide your palms up onto your shins or your thighs. And you can inhale here to lift up halfway with a flat back. Exhale to forward fold. And then on your next inhale, bend into the knees. Allow the spine to roll up one vertebrae at a time. Once you arrive at standing, we'll inhale to reach the arms up and overhead. Exhale to draw them to the heart center. And then go ahead and inhale to reach your arms up. And you can grasp hold of your right wrist with your left hand. And then just begin to gently arch over to the left, finding a long stretch along the right side of the body. Maybe gazing up towards the hands. We'll inhale to come back to center. And then wrap your right hand around your left wrist. And you can exhale to side bend over towards the right, finding a length along the left side. We'll inhale to come back to center. And then on your exhale, you can cactus the arms, maybe stick out the tongue. And breathe out through the mouth for lion's breath. Inhale, we'll reach the arms up overhead. Exhale, draw the hands to the heart center. You can release your hands at your sides. And then we're going to come into warrior one. So from the top of your mat, you can step the right foot back so that it's at 45 degrees, and then bend into the front knee, allowing yourself to feel really strong and steady in center, lengthening your spine up towards the sky. And if you'd like, you can float your arms up towards the sky for warrior one. Lifting the heart, lifting the gaze, allowing the shoulders to gently melt down the back. And with your next exhale, we'll float the hands behind us and lean the torso forward. Coming into like a victory stance. Inhale to come back to warrior one. Exhale, float the hands back as you bow the heart forward. Inhale to come back to warrior one. One more time like this. Exhale to swim the hands back, floating the heart forward. And then we'll inhale to come back to warrior one. And this time on your exhale, you can float the hands behind you and either grab hold of your shirt, the edge of your shirt, or you can interlace your hands at your low back. On your next exhale, go ahead and float the torso forward. Allow the torso to rest on the front thigh as you bow your head for humble warrior. You can either leave the hands resting at your low back, or you might allow them to float behind you for humble warrior. Take a few nice deep breaths here, noticing how you can balance your effort and your ease. And then we'll release the hands to the low back. You can bring the hands to the hips and lift the torso, and we'll return once more to warrior one. On the next exhale, you can bring the hands to the heart center, and then bring the hands to the hips, lean forward and begin to step forward. to come into mountain pose, releasing your hands to your sides, pausing for a breath, feeling your feet rooted on the ground, a strong, steady mountain. When you're ready, we'll inhale the arms up overhead. Exhale, draw the hands to heart center. Inhale to reach the arms up and overhead, and then exhale to swan dive forward. Inhale for halfway lift, pressing the palms into the shins. Exhale to forward fold. And then inhale, we'll sweep the arms up and rise up to mountain pose. Exhale, draw the hands to the heart center. And we're going to get ready for that same sequence on the opposite side. So I think I'll change to this. No, maybe stay here. So let's bring our hands to our hips, and you can slide the left foot back this time. Bringing the back foot to 45 degrees, and then you can bend into the front knee. Find your strong, steady stance, feeling rooted in center, strong legs, and then allow the top half of you to lighten and brighten as you lift the hands for warrior one. On your inhale, lifting the heart, lifting the gaze, and on your exhale, you can swim the hands back and lift the torso forward. We'll inhale to rise back to warrior one. And you can take 2 more rounds just like this at your own pace. The next time you arrive back into your warrior one, we'll set up for humble warrior. So with your next exhale, you can swim the hands behind you and try to interlace them the awkward way, or you can grasp hold of the edge of your shirt if your hands can't quite reach here. Then with your next exhale, we'll soften the chest and allow the torso to rest on the right thigh, bowing the head. You can leave the hands resting at the low back, or you might allow them to float overhead for humble warrior. Take a few nice deep breaths here. And if your hands are floating gently overhead, you can allow them to soften towards your back. Bring your hands to your hips, and then inhale to lift the torso, coming back into warrior one, maybe floating the hands up towards the sky. On the next exhale, you can draw the hands to the heart center, and then you'll lean forward to step forward to mountain pose. Releasing your hands open towards the front. You can just sort of notice and soften here. When you're ready to inhale, you can reach your arms up overhead. Exhale to draw them to the heart center. Inhale to reach the arms up and overhead, and then exhale to swan dive forward. Inhale for halfway lift, pressing your palms into your shins or your thighs, lengthening through your spine. And exhale to forward fold. On your next inhale, we'll float the arms up and overhead, and exhale to draw the hands to the heart center. We're going to come into a balancing pose, tree pose. So we'll come into standing up tall in mountain pose, grounding down through your feet. You could bring your hands to your hips if you'd like a little more support, and then begin to ground down through your left foot, and you can peel your right heel up off of the mat. So you're starting to find that steady base. And then when you'd like, you can swivel your right knee open Allow your heel to rest at your ankle, and you might, once you find balance, bring your foot up onto your calf or maybe your upper thigh. Find a drishti, a place of focus off of the tip of the nose or at the horizon, something unmoving, a drishti. And then you can bring the hands to the heart center. And you might notice your intention is like a little tiny flame in between your palms. It's okay. It's okay to fall out and come back in. And you can also leave your foot anchoring on the ground. Allow your 3 middle fingers to open, blossoming into a lotus mudra. Allow that flame of intention to grow a little brighter, and you might send it up and out into the universe, growing your tree limbs. Beautiful. Allow your shoulders to melt away from your ears. And then when you're ready, you can bring your knee up and step your foot out and shake it off. Allow your arms to gently massage your sides, massaging the adrenals and the kidneys with a little tap. And then when you're ready, we'll step it back to mountain pose. Take a moment here to just notice any variations from left to right without judgment, just allowing for compassion and curiosity. And then when you're ready, we'll flutter our eyes open. You can bring your hands to your hips, and then we'll begin to root down through your right foot, peel your left heel off of the mat. You can always stay right here, or you could draw the left knee open as you maybe just press the heel of your foot onto your ankle. Maybe you want to explore balance a little more, and you bring the foot onto the calf or the upper thigh. And then finding that drishti, that point of focus. It's okay to fall out and come back in. You might invite your hands to meet at your heart center. And once more, you can revisit the idea of your intention, that glowing ember, the fire of tapas. And you might open the 3 middle fingers for lotus mudra. And then you can go ahead and grow that intention, reaching your tree limbs tall, just allowing yourself to explore balance. Noticing it's not a fixed place, but a dance. Whenever you're ready, you can lift your left knee and then step your foot out wide and gently shake it all off. And we'll come back to center now. You can walk towards the front of your mat. Let's inhale to reach the arms up overhead. Exhale to swan dive forward, leading with the heart. Inhale for halfway lift. And exhale to forward fold. You can plant the palms and either walk your feet back to find downward facing dog or child's pose. And if you'd like to build a little more heat right now, you might find a vinyasa coming forward to a plank. You can always stay in child's pose too. So come forward to a plank, lower down onto your belly. And then you maybe find baby cobra, sphinx pose, or upward facing dog. And then when you're ready, we'll meet up in tabletop. And you can walk your knees towards your hands to come onto your seat. And then we'll bring our feet forward, reach the arms out, and you can bring your hands behind your thighs if you'd like, and start to find balance coming into boat pose. Extending the legs, using the strength of the core. Maybe you float the hands out in front. And you can always stay with your feet on the ground. Maybe tap one foot at a time. So a lot of options to explore in boat pose. Whenever you're ready, let's land the feet and we'll point the palms forward. You can slide the palms behind you, planting them underneath the shoulders, and then walk the heels in. Inhale to lift the belly, lift the hip points, maybe send your gaze towards your belly, up towards the sky, or allow it to fall behind you for altar pose. With your next exhale, we'll go ahead and land the hips back down, and you can extend your feet out wide to the sides. Inhale to lengthen the spine, and exhale to walk the hands forward. Coming into a wide leg forward fold. Pointing the toes up towards the sky. And with your next inhale, you can walk the hands back to center. We'll bring the left foot on the inner thigh. And then with your next inhale, you can reach the arms up towards the sky and then slide the right hand down the right leg as you reach the left arm up and over for a side bend here. Allowing a stretch from the left fingertips all the way down to the base of the left hip, turning your gaze up towards the left hand. On the next inhale, we'll lift both hands up to center, and then you can turn towards the right toes, and we'll bow over the right leg, reaching the hands to either frame the shin, or you might walk the hands forward and rest them on the shin, or reach for the toes. Whenever you're ready, we'll walk the hands back to center, and then let's switch sides. You can bring the right foot to the left inner thigh. We'll inhale the arms up towards the sky, and then go ahead and slide the left hand down the left leg as you arch the right hand up and over. You might gaze upward at your right hand if that feels like an okay stretch for the neck. Allowing your left hand to really traction onto your left leg so that you can spin your heart open towards the sky. And on your next inhale, we'll rise to center, reaching the arms up. Go ahead and turn towards your left toes, and then you can bow over your left leg, maybe framing the foot or the calf. Or if it feels good, you could always reach for the toes. Just remembering that each pose is infinite, and where we are in that pose can change from day to day, side to side, and over time. And whenever you're ready, you can walk your hands back up into center. And we'll be coming onto our backs now. So you can plant your feet and maybe extend your arms out and just allow yourself to gently roll onto your back. You might draw your knees in towards your chest, curl your nose up towards your knees, and give yourself a nice big hug. Gently rocking side to side to massage the spine. From here, we'll find happy baby pose. So you can draw your knees towards your armpits and then walk your hands up onto your shins or the outer edges of your feet. And maybe gently here, rock a little side to side. When you're ready, you can release your feet and then bring your knees just to hover. Plant the palms next to your hips, and you can begin to allow the knees to float together over to the left. Just allow them to hover there. Use the strength of your core to bring them back to center, and then exhale them over to the right. Allow them to hover here. And you can take a few rounds hovering your knees side to side. And then the next time your knees fall over to the left, you might come into a twist, allowing your knees to rest on the mat. You can extend your arms out side to side. Send your gaze over towards your right hand. On your next inhale, reach the right hand up and over the body. Reach your right hand fingertips past your left fingertips. And then inhale to slide the arm back across the chest to open back up into your twist. If that felt good, you can take 2 more rounds. You might exhale, draw the hand up and over, and then inhale to glide the right arm open. And then when you're ready, bring your hands back to your hips or down past your hips. And then we'll do that same rocking side to side, allowing your knees to hover. The next time your knees fall over to the right, you can allow them to land coming into your twist, extending your arms out into a letter T. And then with your next exhale, you might close the left hand over the body, reach it towards the right fingertips, and then inhale to glide the left hand across the chest, opening back up into your twist. If you like that movement, go ahead and take 2 more rounds just like that. And then you're welcome to settle into your twist in whichever variation works best for you. For the last moments of class, we will be getting ready for Shavasana. So I just invite you to take any last movements that your body would like to take. If there are any moves or poses that are your favorite that we missed in class, you can feel free to take a few rounds of breath for those now. If you'd love to take maybe some kind of gentle inversion, you're welcome to extend your legs up a tree or up the wall if you're joining from at home. Whenever you feel ready, you can make your way to Shavasana, corpse pose. As you begin to settle in for your final rest, I'll just offer a bit more of a reading from Deborah Adele's book, The Yamas and the Niyamas, coming back to this idea of tapas Self nurturing discipline. Somewhere we forgot that we had to learn how to walk. We forgot how many times we fell. We forgot that things take practice. The question becomes for us, what are we practicing for? To become something in the future takes effort in the now. In yoga, having a daily disciplined practice is referred to as sadhana. It is the discipline of putting ourselves in places where the old debris that has collected in us can be removed. We engage in this process when we pay attention to the amounts and the kinds of food we put in our body, when we move and exercise our body through walks, yoga, or other activities, when we expand our mental ability or study scripture with like minded people. As Patabi Joyce reminds us, practice and all is coming. Tapas is growing our ability to stay in the unknown and the unpleasantness rather than run in fear. It is the willingness to be both burned and blessed. The discipline of tapas will mold us into someone of great depth and profoundness if we let it. Can we stand the heat of being dismantled and changed forever by the fire? Can we prepare ourselves daily through our practice, our staying power, and our choices? Can we stay in the burning with integrity? Can we hold on for the blessing? Allow yourself to sink in to the earth, feeling all the places where the earth is rising to support you. Allow your forehead to soften and your eyelids to soften. Relax the hinge of your jaw. Allow your shoulders to rest heavy on the earth. And sense the supportive hug of gravity. You can begin to deepen your breath and start to imagine that with each inhale, your heart center is growing in all directions. increasing your capacity to give and receive love from your heart. And then take a moment to zoom yourself out, your mind's eye, out into the universe, noticing your small little place here, and just sensing what a miracle it is to be together in this time and place. And then you can start to invite some movement into your fingers, gently rotating your wrists, and then moving your toes and rotating your ankles. You might find a long body stretch, sweeping your hands up overhead, past your ears. And then, whenever you're ready, you can roll onto one side, find a fetal position, and maybe rest there for a round or two of breath. Whenever you're ready, you can press yourself up into a seat. And then you can inhale to sweep your arms up and overhead. Exhale to draw them to your heart center. It's such an honor and a privilege to have this opportunity to guide you through your practice. Thank you all so much for being here today. Namaste.
Oh, I know. Like fire song. I was like, we are focusing. Yeah, right. It's like, great job.